Rebel with a cause. BK all day, baby. It's Rebel season. The real rebels are back. I got the mind of a king. You should really protect them. Everybody talking, but Rebel really the next. I got the mind of a king. Spread to never take this. Slavery, fake hip hop, you dead if you were racist. I got the mind of a king. You could never replace this. Blood from the mud, no love, so I'ma say I got the mind of a king. I know where I am from now. I'ma wake 'em up, you keep 'em sleep, it's up to me. I got the mind of a king. Peace. We back. Peace, gods. We got another episode of Rebels Roundtable. We got a special guest from Harlem in the building.
Harlem, New York.
NYC, my home state. You know what I mean? Brother, introduce yourself.
Peace, Kings. My name is Brother Agyei Tyehimba. I'm born and raised in Harlem, basically still live in the neighborhood where I grew up. And I'm glad to be here to build with my fellow brothers. Hopefully we'll bring some clarity to the situation for our people watching and listening.
That's right.
Yeah. This episode called The Moment of Clarity.
That's right. And those in YouTube land, comment, like, and describe. We need it.
Yeah. Subscribe to Rebel Vision Television. Obasi, Brother John, peace to the gods.
What's up, brother?
I think Obasi muted.
Obasi muted.
What's up, G? How y'all doing, man?
What's up, brother? Obasi, how you be, brother?
I'm all right, bro.
All right.
All right, let's start it off. What's number one?
Yes, sir. So I got these 10 quick points I want to hit people with. The first thing I think that our community should understand is we talk about the enemy. Who's the enemy? So I think we should give clarity to that. When we say our opponent, who is our opponent? And the way I see it, based on my study, the opponent are white people and institutions that support, defend, and benefit from white supremacy. But that's the first part. There's a second group. And that second group might even be larger than the first group. And the second group is anyone that collaborates with group number one. So that means the Negroes, the Coons,
Froze up.
people in the Eurocentric, toxic feminist community, whoever is collaborating with that first group is part of our opponent, our opposition. That would be the first thing. You know, should I keep going?
Yeah.
All right, y'all stop me now when y'all want to jump in.
Show yours, man. You know what I mean?
All right. All right. Thank you, man. The second thing is our community should really understand the difference between a prerequisite and a preference, because I think we're confusing them, and this is causing great problems in our community. Those of us who consider ourselves revolutionary, fighting for social justice or what have you, or Black liberation. A preference is a practice or a habit representing a person's personal choice, their personal opinion, or their personal taste. It's not necessary to achieve liberation. So for instance, wearing African locks, that's a personal preference. Wearing African jewelry, that's a personal preference. Having an African name, using certain African expressions or certain lingo or language, practicing a certain religion, being a vegan or vegetarian. Those are personal choices that our people in our community make. And though they may have some politics to them, and we may associate that with being African-centered, wearing African clothing and all that stuff, the truth of the matter is those things are not necessary for us to successfully be liberated, right?
Right.
Now, we confuse that with a prerequisite. The prerequisite is something you must do in order to achieve liberation. Something that you can't get around doing no matter what your personal beliefs are. So educating yourself or re-educating yourself, creating institutions that are independent and Black oriented, solidarity or working together,
Right.
Generating some type of economy or economic base so we can sustain ourselves and be able to strategize and think critically and logically. Those are prerequisites. You're not going to be free if you don't do those things. I don't care what you believe in, who your God is, how you dress. And I think that in our community, we tend to give too much meaning and depth to people because, my name is Brother Agyei. I changed my name after college. Okay, and?
Yeah, right, yeah.
And that's great for you and your family. That's a good image, but that don't mean revolutionary. You could be a coon in town, the biggest coon in town with an African name.
Right.
Or because I wear my hair in locks, or I got my beard a certain way, or that doesn't mean anything necessarily, right? But it could have meaning depending on the person. So I think we confuse that. When I was younger, I'm 53. I've been involved in this movement for at least 35 years. And when I was a younger man, I made the mistake of confusing that. So I'd be in panel discussions in college and be making sisters cry because I'm banging on them because they got blonde hair, or I'm banging on them because they wearing a certain type of outfit that I didn't think was African centered, or I'm banging on them because they got a name like Judy or Trudy. But the truth of the matter is, as I got older and I worked and organized in all these different capacities, Black Student Union president, Africana Studies graduate president, all these different campaigns, I realized that, man, there were soldiers, man, that came in all types of clothing. And not all of them had African names. And not all of them wore African clothes. That's true. That's real talk. And I also found that some of the people that was onged out and had all the paraphernalia were reactionaries, man. They didn't understand what was at stake. They weren't committed. They didn't have the 3 C's: consciousness, competence, and commitment. They didn't have it. So I learned then that all that stuff is important to you or me, but politically speaking, it doesn't mean anything necessarily. So that's number 2. Some people think if they eat vegetables or they become a vegan, so what, you're a nutritional nationalist? Like, nah, man, it don't work like that. It doesn't work. Some people smoke cigarettes. Some people take a drink. Some people dress what some people would consider street. Some people dress in suits. You can't judge people by that. It's their consciousness. So all you can judge people on is their thoughts and their consistent deeds.
So let me ask you a question, bro.
Yes, sir.
With that being said, do you think that there has to be a line of clarity? Because I agree with some of the things you say, but what happens is we kind of, in the confusion on the battlefield, we kind of blurring the lines. I get that you say we shouldn't bang on people with blonde hair, but I think in that identity, we got such an identity crisis that I think we have to help our sisters and brothers come up off of that and not them, if you get what I'm saying. But I think there has to be a line of clarity that we have to draw that say, hey, this is the African image that we aspire to, but we don't have to make nobody feel bad, if that makes sense what I'm saying. But do you think there has to be a line of clarity that we draw?
Respectfully, that's the whole title of this presentation, good brother. 10 points of clarity. And what I'm suggesting to everyone watching and listening is that we're confused on this issue. This comes from cultural nationalism in the 60s. The US organization and Congress of African People, they were heavy on changing your name, having African hairstyles, wearing African garb, and participating in what they consider traditional African customs, right? And the point is that that's one form of nationalism. There's revolutionary nationalism, right? There's political nationalism. There's more of an entrepreneurial type nationalism. My thing is this: one way you can know how to move, one way you can get ideas of how to move, is to study your enemy. Is the white man successful because they all wear MAGA hats? Do they all advertise in the Klan? Do they all come out with three-piece suits? Do they all come out saying nigga, nigga, nigga? No, sir. No. Their strength is in their diversity. So they're able to infiltrate our organizations because they may wear a hairstyle. And because we associate that hairstyle, that jewelry, that lingo, or that thing with something political, we're easy pickings for infiltration. Very easy pickings. White people come in all stripes, all up in our neighborhoods, in our cultural venues, right? Could be complete infiltrators. These are costumes, good brother. This is a costume, good brother. That's all it is. If you give it any more energy than that, you miss the point. I'm not here. This is me, personally. I'm not here to make a fashion statement.
Right.
My fashion is not my politics.
Right.
I'm clear on revolution. That's what I've studied. And people in revolution, Cuba, Haiti, whatever way you look at it, some of them infiltrated. To infiltrate, they had to wear costumes. They couldn't come out and say, I'm with the rebellion. We have to get more sophisticated with that. To me. You feel me?
Everybody mute yourself when you're not talking. Somebody got feedback.
All right.
Yeah, we can't confuse this. This is not about, simply cultural pride. This is 2021. Malcolm laid that down. Garvey laid that down. Africans and new Africans who don't understand that by now, I don't know what to tell them. But at this point, we should be building institutions. We should be practicing cooperative economics. We should be building the schools and writing the curriculums and creating the patrols that we need, right? I don't think that our politics is worn. Our politics doesn't come out in my beard shape or my hair or my hat. I may put this on to make people think, to make people feel more aligned with me. I may go into a place and put on a certain type of clothing to put people's guard down. But I do not associate it with some type of intrinsic politics. Right? And that's the other thing I want to say with this. Our strength does not come in being, I believe in this concept. Let me say this. Unity without uniformity. Unity without uniformity. I want to take you back. I'm coming from a position that I want to win. I'm not here to play games, man. I want to win. I want to actually be free, whether I'm allowed to see it or not. And I've been studying and observing and listening to my master teachers and the things that they said they wish they could do over and the things they got wrong. And we're missing a lot of opportunity because we're taking nationalism from the 60s and prior, and we're not tweaking it and making it relevant to right now. So we're kind of stuck in this time warp, right? And I think that's one of the things. My thing is unity without uniformity. That is to say, we move in the same general direction with the same general destination in mind, but we allow people to be. We allow Africans to express themselves authentically, whether they do that talking Kiswahili or they do that, yo, what's up, son, word, you know what I mean? We don't get caught up in that. Those are things we use to our advantage. And if we realize our diversity and we organize it properly, like chess pieces on the board, we can be successful. But if we get stuck in ideology, we will lose. We will lose. That's a fact. I look at the enemy. I look at Mexicans in my neighborhood, Dominicans in my neighborhood. I see how they're getting down. They're not necessarily going, I'm proud to be Dominican. I don't see Asians marching for Asian pride. They understand you need an economic engine. So they're building ways to generate money. They're building ways to own land. And if you go down to Chinatown, where I'm at in New York City, talking that talk, they will absolutely dismantle you. They have a self-defense component built in. All their buildings are written in Chinese language. They have their own banking systems. Now, yes, they're still colonized people, though, just like we are. We're colonized, and there's no way around that. So I think, for me, I don't judge people. I'm not expecting every black man or woman, African, New African, to look like me, to talk like me, to use my references. That's not how you win a war. You win a war by deception, by subterfuge, by sabotage, by outthinking your enemy. So let me remind the people watching, in African literature and African tradition, we had a certain type of character that storytellers would always use. The character is called a trickster. The white man, like he did everything else, expropriated that concept in terms of Bugs Bunny, Woody Woodpecker, and different cartoon characters. They're tricksters. What is a trickster? A trickster is a character whose enemy is much bigger, much stronger, right? Got them outgunned, got more resources. On normal terms, the trickster wouldn't be able to defeat this enemy. But the trickster understands the defeat of the enemy comes here. The trickster outthinks and outsmarts his enemy. And that's how he wins. In Africa, in ancient Africa, this came through the character of a spider named Anansi. And sometimes it took on different forms. But if you look at it, the ancestors was giving us the blueprint. It's right there. The blueprint is there, man. They're saying, yo, when you're in a situation where you're colonized, your money system comes from your enemy, you getting shot up, you got to call your damn enemy 911 to rescue. Ain't that something? You getting shot up. If a cop was shooting you up, most of us would be calling 911, right? The cops. So we're in a very precarious situation. We're colonized, right? So this means that we can't fight a fair fight. We have to fight unconventional warfare, asymmetrical warfare, what the white man calls what? Guerrilla warfare. And guerrilla warfare is based on outmaneuvering, misdirection, throwing a rock and hiding your hand, causing dissension amongst the enemy ranks. And that's what I'm trying to get our people to be less ideological and more strategic. More strategic. That's what we have to. The goal is to win. The goal is not to be the most African, the goal is to win, to be free and liberated. And some people, I work with a brother named Ishmael Bey for many years. He's one of the founders of Amun Ra Squad. Yeah. And brother Ishmael has this thing of a disorganized lie. An organized lie is stronger than a disorganized truth.
Every time.
He says that our people are just everybody's grappling for identity. Identity. And identity is important. But didn't Garvey solve that already? Didn't X solve? Wasn't that addressed? It's like we've gone backwards. Like, at what point are we talking about get your money up? At what point are we talking about we need engineers and doctors and clinicians and intellectuals and scholars? We need to organize them. And so some people are talking about nation building concepts at this point. They left the identity. They say, listen, we could have a confederation. There's room for the Black Hebrew Israelites. There's room for the Moors. There's room for some of the more politically conscious street organizations. There's room for the people who identify under certain religions but put their race first. And we all can live in a confederation of many nations. But you got to let people be, or else you're an oppressor. Or else you're doing the same thing with fighting against the white folk. Tell us where we could go, how we could dress, how we could speak, what we can think. That's not what liberation is. Liberation is creating a situation where our people can think and be and express themselves authentically, even if you and I disagree. Right? That's liberation. If you're trying to tell me that liberation looks like everybody looking like you, And everybody sounding like me. Everybody dressing the same. That's something else. That's not liberation. That's totalitarianism. And that's not what we want. We have to give our people choice. That's what that, at the end of the day, even when we disagree with them, even when we fighting to the death, we educate them. Or else, you know what happens, good brother? This is what happens. This is how it plays out for real. The African continent, you don't have to look no further than the African continent. After African independence movements in the 60s and 70s. What happened in so many cases? People started off as freedom fighters, nationalism. Some used socialism. And then once they got rid of the white man, the obvious enemy, what happened? Now they pronouncing stuff like, oh, if you do this, we're killing you. Huh? Word? If you believe this, you get locked up. No, there's one newspaper in this country. No, so now what you're saying is you're the new white man. And we're supposed to support that? No, sir. Non-cipher. That's not what this is about. This is about liberation. And that's a tough thing to do. You know what? It's tough for a parent to say to their kid, I don't want you dating this. I don't want you. But what your job is to teach them right. Guide them well, show them love and empathy and support, and pray or meditate on the fact and affirm the fact that they're going to go out there and they're going to be all right. But they can't grow if you got a leash on them every 5 minutes. You tell them what to do, they'll never be an adult. It's the same with our people. You have to teach them right, educate them, but you have to let them make their own choices. And I think my critique of nationalism, and by the way, I'm a Pan-African nationalist all the way. But my critique of my own community is that we lost sight, man. It's like, I'm not trying to control nobody, man. I just want to get their foot off my neck. And I don't want you putting your foot on my neck when their foot comes off. I think that's fair. And it takes a lot of strength to be able to check what one believes and afford people the opportunity to be. Black people want to eat, take care of their kids, be safe, make a decent wage, be able to have dreams in their head come to life. That's what we want on the ground, practically speaking. All the other stuff is ideological. We can debate that all day. But at the end of the day, those are the concrete things our people want. I'm done. I talked a long time. I'm sorry, brothers. That was a long time.
This is how the show rock. We give you the stage, and then if anybody got anything to say.
Well, I agree. I agree in a few instances, because in the Blueprint for Black Power, I think it was chapter 5, Amos Wilson, he talks about what he calls ethnocentrism. And he talks about in this thing of ethnocentrism, and the reason I'm asking you this question, because a lot of time, my brother, when we always say, let people be, it's just a free-for-all. We don't have no measuring stick on how to be as Africans. And I don't think you came across that way, but sometimes it's like it's a penalty for us wanting to be proud and wear our garbs and stuff. And a lot of times, bro, when we're talking about like, okay, we did the 9 areas of people activity. So with my young brothers that I work with, I tell them, I say, okay, we're going to put a 10th. We're going to call this one the media, social media. And we got to understand the juggernaut of how we're being attacked. And through this, honestly, it is not us bothering other people. It is everybody else. A lot of those outsiders that we named, a lot of times this is how it's hard. It is these new foundational Black Americans who dog Africans. So I say we have to put up some kind of fence. We have to put up something. We just can't let everybody come in, because
I agree with you.
You see what I'm saying, bro? You see what I'm saying? If we don't have no ethnocentric way of being, man, it's gonna be destruction of Black civilization again. It's gonna be the Songhai Empire and falling to the Moors again, bro. And we have to learn from them. Like you said, I agree, dog. We can't be like, hey, we can't turn to tyrants or dictators. But
very thin line.
Yeah.
I'm giving
You
you
know,
actual history, Uganda. I can
yeah,
go on and on and on, and even in non-African contexts, where so-called freedom fighters and liberators came in talking that liberation, sometimes nationalism, nationalized the land, gave it back to the people, and then Pol Pot kills a third of his whole population in Cambodia.
right.
And then Mao Zedong is starving people so bad that they're eating each other.
Right. Because
So what I'm saying here is, no, we can't be fools. And no, we don't just let anybody in. Our own body has an immune system. So we can look at our body and say, we can't be foolish enough to just let anybody rock with us. No, I agree with that. What I'm saying is, it's getting to a point where our fundamental problem has become the nigger in ourselves, the white man in ourselves, where the white man is like, it's no longer a settler colony. The white man could be way over in another country and we still doing his bidding because it's been kind of impressed into our brains. So I'm saying this, if you're given the choice between having a country, a nation, let's say an independent nation of our own, would you want it populated with the most African centered? Would that be the most important to you? Would the most important thing be good people that look like you, of character and integrity, that you can trust? See, I think I'm just saying, sometimes I don't think we are reading critically. It's like people say, oh, I read Destruction of Black Civilization, or I read it. Okay, great. Are you reading to read, or are you reading with a question? You know, as a professor, I teach the students, you don't just read to read. You start with questions, and you're reading this book to answer questions. So now you're reading critically. So that's why when you go to a professor's office, you may see thousands of books, and you're like, damn, you read all those books? No. Some of those books, they only use 3 pages of. They want they're hunting for specific information. So I just don't think sometimes that we're reading these books critically, because if we did, who betrayed the African World Revolution? John Henrik Clarke spells it out. It's all spelled out. This is what I'm saying. We're replaying the same script, man. The language is changing, but it's the same thing. And these things have been adequately addressed and resolved. You know, what is my brother's name? Destruction of Black Civilization. Why can I not remember my brother's name?
Chancellor Williams.
Thank you, sir. Chancellor Williams, the great Chancellor Williams. He wrote a whole chapter on summarizing what messed us up. And he said that we were ripe for exploitation and invasion by outside forces because we began creating all of these kingdoms, and all these people started competing, and everybody wanted a title, right? And it became harder and harder for people to coalesce. He wrote that in 70-something. Garvey talked about this in 20-something. I'm saying, like, the conversation now has to go forward. It has to go forward. We're constantly quoting our greats, which is a blessing, and we should honor our ancestors. But at what point, who will our grandchildren be quoting? Are they still going to be quoting X and Asada and Chokwe Lumumba and one of my dear Jegnas, the great Khalid Muhammad? Are they going to still be quoting them, or are they going to be quoting us? Are y'all feeling what I'm trying to say? Like, at some point, the baton has to be passed, and we have to take nationalism and say, okay, what does Black nationalism look like in the year 2021 with COVID? What did the COVID epidemic show us about nationalism? What was the Black nationalist response to COVID? Where was the independent Black clinics? Where was the independent Black healthcare professionals schooling our people with credible information on the virus so they didn't have to bow down to conspiracy theory? Where was it? It's showing you we're soft in some areas. That's not to beat us up. It's to say, yo, nationalism got to grow up, man. It got to grow up. It got to stretch. It has to change a little bit. If we still kicking with Garvey's kicking, we in trouble, man. That's all I'm saying. It has to evolve. The conversation has to evolve. And we have to be able to say, you know what? We have to get to a point where respectfully, we may have to even say, Malcolm is my man, my Jegna in death. But I think we've got to be critical with some of what he said. We got to look at that differently now. We got to look at that differently. Because in his time, it may have applied perfectly. But see, here's the thing. White supremacy is so insidious because it never stays the same. Family is constantly changing. They got rid of slavery. What did they do? They built prisons. I mean, it's constantly changing. There was colonialism. Africans kicked the crackers out and won these independence, these revolutions. And what did they do? It created neo-colonialism. It never stays the same. We have to take notes. When you see other people moving in a certain way, it's not to say you copy, but you got to be intelligent and say, take notes. Let me give an example. Sister who I greatly respect here in Harlem bangs on the police, anti-police. I respect that. But I was like, you know what? We need to infiltrate the police. What? You're crazy. We can't deal with them pigs. Oh, so you don't study. See, what you're proving to me is you're not studying. You see, how we say we got to read? Why do we have to read? To read for reading's sake, or we're reading to get answers, to see where we went wrong, to go a better way? So I'm saying this. In the Vietnam War, when black men were over there fighting the white man's war against brown people that never did nothing to them, you know what the Viet Cong were doing? They were dropping leaflets from the planes. And those leaflets read in English, "You are our brothers. Why are you fighting your enemy's war? We have done nothing to you." What are they trying to do? They had a woman, I forget her name, famous woman, doing a radio broadcast. "My brothers, you black soldiers, why are you fighting the white man's war?" Propaganda. They're trying to create dissension in the ranks of the enemy. Why are we not thinking? Why are we always, oh no, you can't do this? You can't. Who said? I always say, who said? Who said we can't do this? Show me logically why we shouldn't do this. If we're trying to win the war, are we supposed to think and misdirect and deceive? So I just think a lot of the ways that I hear on social media, sometimes it makes me think. I'm not talking about you, brother, but I've never seen your show. No, seriously, I've never seen your show yet. But some of it I cringe. I'm like, man, that ain't what Khaled was representing, man. That ain't Khaled, man. Listen, if Khaled was alive right now, you know what happened? He would be giving universal to these cats. He'd be putting hands on them for misrepresenting. It's like, nah, that's how we talking about. And Khaled fought actual revolutionary warfare in Uganda with guns. So we like, it's like we're not getting the baton from the elders, asking those critical questions, not just patting their back, Agyei, but what's the critical questions? Well, don't we understand? What does it seem like we're not getting? And we need to go to our books and our studies, our documentaries, and our elders. We need to go a different way.
Yo, John,
that's what I'm saying.
I think it's your mic. If mute until you want to talk directly. It's some kind of feedback.
You want me to mute?
I mean, I agree with you, bro. And like I said, sometimes this is what we got to do. We got to have these healthy, and even if they get uncomfortable dialogues, because what I don't like about quote unquote revolution, man, we act like everything got to be so buddy. We always got to agree. No, sometimes your best ideas come from a disagreement. And I'm with you, but I just want a lot of what I want some of the OGs and some of the elders to understand that some of us younger ones, hey man, I ain't no spring chicken, man, but I came from 80s and 90s. So a lot of the ways I got a lot of that Tupac in me. A lot of folks don't consider him a revolutionary, but a lot of us, Khalid Muhammad. And a lot of times, you see a lot of people that's so disrespectful. They try to emulate his energy, but they're not. Khalid was clean. When he was able to tell the white man about himself, he did it in a clean fashion. So when I look at it, man, we going to, you know, we always say the American nigga factory, man, and this is what we are creating. And I'm looking at the youth behind me. What is it, like you said, who name they gonna be calling in the future? You know, man, and look, man, I don't want to be standing still talking about, you know, one thing I think we also need to change and get clarity on, I think we need to stop shooting ourselves in the foot and saying we might not see it in this lifetime. Why? Why can't we see it in this lifetime? Why can't we work our asses off and at least push the ball in this lifetime? That makes sense, man?
Yeah.
I feel you in that, my brother. I feel that. Absolutely. I'm in complete agreement. What you put out there is very important. I agree with that.
Yes, because that's what we do, bro. We tell, you know, we get on there and we tell people the power of words and all of this and the no-mo and all these old fancy sounding words, but we constantly talking self, well, it might not be, and it's like, and the children behind us hear that. So when I'm working with a lot of the 15, 14, 13-year-old youth, hey, man, they don't see nothing fun or fancy about being, they say, hey, why I want to be African? I want to go be a rapper. Lil Durk is on. You know, so I use Lil Durk as a stepping stone to show them. I'll coincide Lil Durk with my aim was this black on black violence. As long as I can get you to read, hey, if I gotta break it down to you, Lil Durk, NBA YoungBoy, we gotta get this message to these youth, you know, and that's my thing, because that's who behind me. And I'm in charge of somebody that's behind me. I mean, I feel like, man, that we do a good job with just one youth and make sure, hey, man, we did our job, man. You did your job. You're doing your job sitting here doing this.
I'm with you.
We got to think bigger. And I think you touched on it in the beginning. Economics, man. Economic.
I'm with you, brother. I just want to say this one thing quickly. In fairness, when people say it may not be in my lifetime, what they're doing is it's displaying humility, because they understand that real social change is a marathon. It don't happen like that, because if it happened like that, we'd be free. Right? Wrong. So when people say that,
I think John wants to say something, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a lot that's been said. I'm gonna go back and touch on some of the other things a little bit later, but just in regards to what Brother Obasi was just bringing up, seeing it in our lifetime and how we give that message. Me, I personally agree with that message. And I understand where you're coming from in regards to giving the youth, the next generation, something to aspire to, something to, you know, be excited about. And that's wonderful and great. But at the same time, we do need to have individuals that are prepared to travel the journey and make the sacrifice and know that they may not, you know, see the promised land. And I think that's where a lot of our people are dropping off. You know, we lack that true commitment. It's almost a selfish mentality. You know, if I'm not going to see it in my lifetime, then what's the point of me putting forth the effort? But me personally, y'all know me, I'm a Garveyite, you know, and Garvey, one of the things that he said was, he said, if it doesn't happen, no, he was planning for 200 years, you know, so even beyond his life, his plan was, you know, within 200 years of his life, that there should be some progress. But I just wanted to point out that we, you know, is a balance. We do want to have things that we can do, short-term goals, but we also have to be willing to sacrifice for the long-term goals and for the next generation to have the things that we may not be able to see.
There was another point I wanted to raise that's completely different from all other points. And it's a quick thing. Obasi, why are you laughing at me, brother? And that is a few words about facts. This is very prominent in the culture. Facts. That's facts. Okay. Those are bricks. Those are doorknobs. Facts in and of themselves mean nothing. Facts are only important when they provide context and perspective, and we can use them to build a logical argument or to have analysis. But absence of context, absence of perspective, a fact means nothing. In fact, pardon the pun, You can go to Google, a kid, I've been with my daughter, and we've been talking about debating on when somebody did this album. She said, when did somebody do this album? Boom, came up immediately. That's a fact. But what is that? What is its meaning? So I think it's important to teach, particularly young people, that facts are tools and they're supposed to create understanding. Don't get too caught up in agreeing with people. Don't get too caught up in disagreeing with people. Understand. Seek understanding and seek wisdom. So a person can have a lot of facts and be a walking dictionary and have no wisdom because they don't know how to apply those facts in a way that moves them, their family, or their community forward. It's just a bunch of, what the white man calls what? Trivia. So this is what I mean, like, that's one of the things, trying to drop quick things, man. Now,
can I say that's a fact, what you just said? Can I say those are facts, what you just said?
Pardon the pun, yes, sir.
Because that's true, what you just dropped.
It's like, it got to have context, it has to have meaning.
That's when you hit it right there. That's when you hit it right there, because we can say 2 + 4, but if we in French class, what does it matter?
That's right. And look at the greatest stories. Think of your elders. Think of your nanas and your aunties and your parents when they was schooling you when you was little. Was they hitting you on the head with a bunch of facts, specific stuff? Was they hitting you with stories and allegories and giving you context? So what was more powerful in those cases? It was the way that they were trying to impart wisdom. Yeah. They were trying to help you understand how to think.
Yes.
And the other thing I wanted to say, I guess the fifth point is that I've heard, these are things that make me cringe when I hear them, and I'm responding to them kind of. Is when I hear people say, well, I don't read the white man's books. Whoa.
You ain't gonna like it, but fact.
Whoa. Yeah. My head turned. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, wait. So here's my quick point. Knowledge is universal. Knowledge belongs to everyone.
It's fair game, man.
No white man has no claim on knowledge. Knowledge is neutral. Knowledge is neutral, like a gun is neutral. It comes down to how a person uses and applies it. Right? So here's my thing. The people in my life that were the most informed, that were the most wise, that knew how to navigate, they were voracious readers. And they read all types of stuff, including Brother Khaled, including Brother Kwame Ture. I can keep going. They read widely. Wide readers.
Man,
including Garvey. All of these people were voracious and they understood, I'm seeking knowledge and understanding. And if I got to get from some teacher I had that didn't like me and I didn't like, but they had knowledge, I got the knowledge. We get really caught up, and this is what I mean by ideology can be liberating, but if we become so married to it, we get stuck to it, it could be our death.
No, man, you absolutely right, man. No, you're right, because I learned European was dirty from guess who? Europeans in this book called Dirt. In this book called Dirt by this cracker named Terrence McLaughlin. He talked about how dirty they were. So, and man, you said a mouthful right there, because a lot of times people just say, oh, like you said, I don't want to read the white man book. Why not? That's how you study your strategy over there.
You don't want to be free. That's how I see it. Leave the ego alone. What is the objective? To be free, unconditionally and completely. Whatever that takes, that's what I'm prepared to do. Or organize a team, and we be prepared to do it in our own ways. But I'm not going to be like, well, I want to be free, but I ain't going to read no white man's book, so.
Right.
What?
But you know, man, that's a hard space that you'll slide in, man, because when, you know, with me, man, when I first came into Awakening, I was mad at every cracker I saw, man. Oh, what that, man, that's a hard space, man. A lot of brothers don't come out of that.
Me too. See, this is consciousness has levels, has degrees. So we can get 100 black people in the room and they could all be conscious, but there's different levels of that. Some people are conscious in the fact that they wear medallions, right? And they wear certain clothing. That's their consciousness. Other people are conscious and they meditate and pray and read certain books, but it's different levels. But what I want people, particularly younger people, to understand is that we should not shame our community members who say, yo, I read Plato. I read this thing on Stoicism as a philosophy. And I think there's stuff we can take from that. Or I read, look, I watch movies, and as when I was in a classroom, I'm still a classroom teacher now. And I hit them in the head with The Wizard of Oz. I take the white man's movie and I deconstruct and break that thing down in a way that adults and kids are minds are blown. And they're like, yo, that's crazy. I saw that movie 100 times and I never saw it yet, because you got to have an open mind. Your mind can't be a rock, family. If you look at the brain, it's mushy and soft and flexible. It ain't no rock. That's how we're supposed to think, right? So one person will get up and be like, you know, the white man put the drugs out here and the white man is wicked. And I'll get up there and be like, y'all saw The Wizard of Oz? Y'all remember the main characters? Who's the main character? Dorothy. What was her problem? They all had a problem. What was her problem? Y'all remember? What was her problem?
Trying to get back home?
Trying to get home.
Yeah, she was trying to get back home. Yeah.
What was the Scarecrow's problem?
He was a coward.
Yeah, well, he didn't have a brain.
Okay, what was the Tin Man's problem?
He ain't have no heart.
What was the Lion's problem?
Got the cowardly lion.
Now look, now check this out. What if I told you that each one of those are archetypes of black people, how they want us to be?
Absolutely. You would be right with it.
A punk who don't know how to defend himself, who runs away from calamity instead of stand up like a man or woman, or doesn't take their rightful place on the throne. They want us to be a Tin Man had no heart. What does that mean? Cold, ruthless, insensitive,
Yes,
a beast, right? Or what the white man calls a thug, or unintelligent, incompetent, can't exert leadership. And when you add all three of those together, what are you? Dorothy, you're lost. So some people look at that, oh, that's a white man's movie. I look at that, man, that's food. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna deconstruct that and I'm gonna use it as a lesson.
Right.
Because I'm not on some, well, that's the white man's knowledge. No, that's knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge. It's how you use it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I gotta. I mean, I understand what you're saying, my brother, but we do have to be careful, especially when it comes to the youth. This, like I said, a lot of the stuff that I say is not my own opinion. I don't know if y'all can see the book, but Course on African Philosophy. This is the only book, or the closest thing to a book, written by Marcus Garvey. In the book, he says, in reading books written by white authors, and that's why I say you have to be careful. If you have the right mind and you're astute enough, you're good. But to our youth, they have to be extremely careful just jumping into these white books. And reading books written by white authors of whatsoever kind, be aware of the fact that they are not written for your particular benefit or for the benefit of your race. They always write from their own point of view and only in the interest of their own race. Never swallow, and this is where you say, be astute, never swallow wholly what the white man writes or says without first critically analyzing it and investigating it. The white man's trick is to deceive other people for his own benefit and profit. And then he goes on to talk about how basically how the education system is set up to praise the white man and to have, other people be inferior. So I just wanted to bring that in. It's not that we are completely against white authors and white text. However, we are more so race first, so when you were giving the example of The Wizard of Oz, the one thing that came to my mind is, why can't we do that with The Wiz? Like, why do we have to, continue to reinforce, their stories, when we can recreate them ourselves. But that's the point that I wanted to put out there.
Okay, no, that's peace. I respect that. But I do think that you have to know Garvey and his reincarnated self named Malcolm X. If you study that, let's look at Malcolm X's reading list when he was in prison, right?
Okay.
Let's just look at some of the books Brother Malcolm read, right? He read Story of Civilization by Will and Ariel Durant, Collective Works by Mahatma Gandhi, Basic Writings by Immanuel Kant, Journal of Residence on the Georgia Plantation by Fanny Kimball. He read Findings in Genetics by Gregor Mendel. Now look at the diversity with which he's able to pull parables and explain stuff. How was he able to do that? Because his reservoir of knowledge was deep and wide. That's how he was able to do it. So if we're talking about praising the white man, I am definitely not for that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about critically engaging literature and movies and images and breaking them down so our people understand. So check it. The reason I don't use the Wiz is because, honestly speaking, it's not as rich in symbolism as the Wizard of Oz. Because in the Wizard of Oz, right, what did they do? Sent them through what? They were starting to get strong. They realized if we get to the wizard, we can be free. So the Wicked Witch was from a specific geographic location. Where was she from?
West.
East. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. See, all that has meaning. That has meaning. That's the white man is the Wicked Witch.
But
I don't care what he meant by it. That is how I'm teaching it. And he put it in. Now look, what did she do? How was she able to see and hear what they were doing? She wasn't even where they were located. She used a what? A crystal ball. What is that? Surveillance. Right? Then she sent them through what? Poppy fields. Why poppy fields? Because what drugs come from poppy plants? Opium, right? We give heroin. All of that is allegory that black people understand. I know I understood it. I wrote, about Paid in Full, the movie, right? I wrote that brother's autobiography, Brother AZ, Game Over, wrote his autobiography. He bears witness. Yeah, we was leading the people right through the poppy fields. Why? To put people to sleep. It's allegory. It's all allegories.
Yeah,
That's what I always teach.
I'm with you. I don't disagree. But one thing that I want to bring back, because you were talking about Malcolm and how he had the wealth of knowledge that he had. But again, he didn't go through that by himself. He had two leaders, actually, or two teachers. One, we all know, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He was a foundation for him as he was, going through learning all these different things. But also, there was I don't know the race of the brother, but he said his name was Bimby. There was a guy still with Malcolm who basically impressed Malcolm so much with how he could hold a conversation not only with the inmates but even with the COs and stuff. So
that was bad.
Okay, but my point is, if Malcolm would have went into these texts without that foundation, would he have still come out as Malcolm X, or would it have been an opportunity for him to be a geneticist, and just been another, brother that turned scientist and did nothing, for the people? You feel me?
That's a question no one on this panel can answer. We don't know what he would have done, but what we do know is that the more you know, the greater and deeper and wider your reservoir of knowledge, the more you can pull from. So when you're in crowds, you can relate to all types of people, because black people are not one way. Some black people got all these degrees and they hoity-toity with the language, speak the King's English. Some black people are working class. Some black people are lumpen proletariat, in and out of jail, rob your mama, hit your grandma over the head. And if you have all these different experiences you can pull from, you can reach all of them. And that was one of his strengths. So mind you, brother John, right? Brother John, I agree that the presumption here is that those of us who have that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding are introducing or working with our people to deconstruct this stuff so they understand, you know? So I
want to say this because I actually agree with both of y'all. To my brother John's point, and actually to your point, brother Agyei, Malcolm, he had a foundation set in place, you know, to both of y'all, you know, so he couldn't get lost. So I do a lot of writing. So I wrote this piece called The Etiquette of Reading. And so we have to teach our children, because something you said earlier, brother Agyei, there are levels. Now, I don't think we should read so much European stuff starting off, because that kind of does something to us. But as we start leveling up, then yeah, because man, I read Plato's Symposium twice, and I'm gonna tell you, I realized they were some freaks when I read that. So it's like, that's how I start to understand Greek knowledge. So when you come to me and we're talking about Greek, who do I go to? I don't go to the Muslims to understand Greek. I go to the Greeks. I go to Plato. I go to Socrates. I go to that old nasty, you know. So I think in those levels that you talk about, brother Agyei, we have to, you know, kind of as we go up, and then okay, our children should have done read the teachers of Ptah Hotep before they can make it to Plato. So therefore, they're not starting off in a Eurocentric mentality first. But
let me ask you a question. It's kind of rhetorical, but I really want to hear what you think. Do you think that the only way Africans and New Africans, Black people, can be free is through having an African-centered education and going to African-centered school? What's your take on that?
Yes, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say that liberated our mind the most, because it gives us the intentionality of where we going.
Yeah,
we can read a lot of stuff along the way. I'm one of those readers you talking about, man. I read everything. I read anything I can get my hands on.
I would have to agree with Brother Obasi to an extent. I understand where you're going. The more we know, the more access to wealth of resources and knowledge we have, the more effective we can be, definitely. But again, in this book, in Garvey's last 3 years of his life, he actually says in this, I don't know if you can't probably.
And I got that, and I got a different cover.
Of African philosophy.
I got a different cover. Mine is different, but it say I got that what you read, the same thing. I like.
In the book, like I said, this is Garvey's last 3 years of his life, and this was his attempt to teach the next class of leaders to carry on the work after he died. And one of the things that he says in here is his actual objective. I got it right here. UNIA schools had always the same ultimate purpose, namely the presentation of an Afrocentric perspective. So that's what he was trying to instill in his students. But I don't want to, it's a special type of Afrocentric perspective, because it's supposed to take out the Eurocentric ideology, where we're very individualistic and Eurocentric. We're supposed to be more communal, more nation building, and more of an Afrocentric. But that was something that Garvey felt that we didn't really have being melanated people in this land. And that goes back to the education again, like, you know, they control the education, they control, you know, who's viewed as superior and who's viewed as inferior. So he was trying to, this was his way of changing the mentality of our people and of our leadership. And the word that he used was Afrocentric. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Does anyone else want to jump in on that one? Like, do you think that?
Hey man, you know I ain't shy, but no, I love this dialogue, man, because I think if we go through the storytellers of the griots, then this is how we begin to change that. Because look, man, I know I'm young, but I got a 6-year-old grandson, and I teach him about Urugu at age 6, and I do it in a story. I do it in a storyteller. His name is Jameer, so I'll say the big bad warrior Jameer has to protect his people from the evil Urugu who wants to take over. And he gets it. He's learning it. So it's like you start them off, but hey man, I done seen some crazy teachers, man, grab some children, and it's just, I wouldn't let you teach my dog the way you talking, man. So I think we have to be those ones that really make those stories. Like you said, man, we got to be those ones that's controlling our narrative. But to go back to what you're saying, because I see it, like you said, we don't want to get caught up in ideology, because something you said, if we get busted in the head, we got to call the police. So I think as we begin to build certain parts, we build our military. What does our military look like? Okay, if something I don't like is that we have people that talk crazy about, our ancestors. Well, what's the consequence of that? Those are always the questions that Brother Ken will tell you. I always say, well, Ken, if somebody talking crazy, like Tariq Nasheed said something crazy about Garvey, we need to go into action, because this is our nana. How we're not protecting our nana? So I think we have to become more concrete in our action of like letting people know we serious, other than just our ideology, if that makes sense what I'm saying. It kind of loop all around in one big mixing bowl, but you get what I'm saying.
I feel you. Now look, I asked that question because I wanted to come back. I want to prove a point. But before I go further, could y'all just throw out some names of people you think in our history is the most revolutionary, the ones that we should all follow and emulate? Just throw some names out.
Yeah.
Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Khalid Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad,
Harriet Tubman.
Okay.
I'm gonna go, Thomas Turner.
John Jacques Dessalines.
Okay.
Who was with him? Who was with Dessalines? Brother Hayden. Louverture, yeah. Toussaint Louverture.
Chokwe Lumumba.
I think Afeni Shakur.
Yes, sir.
A lot of them leave her out, bro. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. You ready?
I know there's a left hook coming.
Which one of them went to an African-centered school? I'm waiting. I'll wait.
You said which one?
Which one of them, who, of all the people you named, who went to an African-centered school?
I think they kind of got it out the mud, kind of how we got it.
No. The question is,
none.
Who went to an African-centered school out of all those people? You know the answer is, right? Not one of them. What's my point? Now listen, don't get mad at me. I'm making a point. What I'm trying to get people to see is a lot of what we believe has to be challenged to see, is this true? We are saying things all the time from ideology, but some of what we believe isn't true. The actual facts show that's not true. So it is not a fact that you have to go to an African-centered school to be revolutionary. Why? And thank God. You know why? Because African-centered schools, the way we understand them, didn't start until the Black Power movement, 60s, 70s. So wait. The people we're naming are coming about in the 19th century, the early 20th century. They couldn't have possibly gone to African-centered school. What school did they go to? A segregated black school or integrated white, or a school with whites. So how did they become so revolutionary? How did they become people that we want to be like? Because education doesn't just come from school. That's how. Because they had elders in their community who were in unions. They had people who were in organizations. They had people who were in the church. And all of those people educated them. It's the white man's theory that education comes from a school. That's the white man's thinking. Africans understood education happens everywhere you interact with your people. So when Nana was teaching, and when Pops was teaching, and when the preacher, all of those people were teachers. And thank God, because if it was true that you had to go to African-centered school, we would all be deaf, dumb, blind, Negroes, and coons.
Yeah, man.
I didn't go to African-centered school either. I went to all Catholic and private schools. How did I get conscious? Because my father and my community, because of the people in Harlem that took me in, Una Mozak, who owned the Liberation Bookstore, and all of these people. It wasn't the school that made me who I am. It was the school of my community that made me who I am.
Can I ask you? Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be brief.
Then I got one.
I understand what you're saying, and yes, you have a valid point. But we also have to look at the numbers and the percentages. So, out of all of our people that went through European schools, how many of them actually went off to become leaders of the race after a European school? And I think
that's not the question. That wasn't my question. Was simple, and you have to submit. You have to submit.
I submit to that. I submit to that. But hold on, Abasi. Hold on,
That's
Abasi.
a different question. That's a different question. All
Yes,
I was trying to say was we don't have to go to African-centered schools. Listen, 85% of black children school age go to public school, man. 85%. I'm a school teacher. That means only 15% go to private school. African-centered schools have to be private because they have to be independent. But the white man's not telling what to do. But only 50% of our kids go. So look, this is why this is important. I'm constantly battling other African-centered teachers. Oh, you should go out this school, should be there. I'm saying, look, hold on. Where are our people? I'm going where our people are, the masses. The masses of our people are in the white man schools. Period. Point blank, no argument. Now, all of us take this ideological approach. Oh, let's just go to the African-centered schools. First of all, there's states that don't have one African-centered school. How many African-centered schools in this whole country that go from K to 12? Not many. So hear me. Why we build that infrastructure? Because I'm a proponent of African-centered schools. But why we do that?
And that's all I'm saying. So
we have to make sure that we are where our people are. Exactly. We can't abandon them.
But this is my thing. But look, all those names we named too, those were the ones. We ain't popping Toussaint's. We not popping Dessalines. And then two, do we not build them just because? So it's like we don't build. We have to have something, that we start building. It's a shame that we don't have one at one school. Why? That should be a problem. Because that
is a problem.
Every time us that if the white man got a school, we want ours. So in my nationalism, in my nation, I want my own. I want my own African school. You
let me just. Can I ask just one question? To the brother, you brought up the leaders that went through European schools and still became leaders. How many of them, after they became leaders, encouraged us to continue to go to European schools?
That's a whole different question. I can't even answer that. But so I want you. Listen. Before, don't fight me here. Understand where I'm going. Understand me. I'm not here to fight. I want understanding. What I'm saying to you is that is a myth. It is not true. And it's important we deconstruct that because our people going to get demoralized when they see, well, damn, I live in this state. There ain't one African-centered school nowhere around. Nowhere around. And my family can't afford, and my family can't afford no tuition. So I'm forced to go to the public school. So what does this mean? Do we sit around and say, oh, no African-centered school, oh well. Or do we say, while we building the African-centered schools, we are training African-centered teachers to go into the existing schools where our people are to teach them. Because when I went to school, Cardinal Hayes High School in the Bronx, Catholic school, there was Mr. Davis, who was teaching us about astral projection, about Kemetic society, right in the white man's Catholic school. If he wasn't there, there'd be no African presence. None. So I need you to understand me. We're trying to win. This is not an ego thing. We're trying to say what works. How do things work in real time? And in real time, our people educated themselves in all types of ways. There were no African-centered schools. So I raise a valid question to say, education don't just come from the schools. We got to build villages. The village is the school.
And I think
the village is the school.
I think that's what we're saying. We don't
that's
say
empowering.
I don't
empowering.
Think ideology. I think we say we work harder and we build what we need. I don't think we say we get rid of that and stop. No, we need those. We just got to step up our work more.
Yeah, and it's saying that if you don't have an African-centered school where you live, guess what, shorty? We got black businesses and black bookstores and black hair salons and nanas and grandmas and union leaders and organizational leaders. You still got an African-centered school, but you're not recognizing that because you're taking the white man's definition of education. Africans never said you got to learn right here in this building. Africans practice spirituality. They never said you had to go to this specific place. That's a European cosmology right there.
I don't think we didn't say that though. We didn't say you had to be in that, you know. Because
I didn't say you said that.
Yeah,
I do
it out in my house. You know what I'm saying? You can build it anywhere.
Brother John want to speak back. Yeah, Brother John.
But no,
I love this, man.
Yeah, brother.
We're talking in circles because, and this is why I didn't say anything earlier, but you did mention earlier the importance of institutions.
Yes.
Consider a school or university an institution. And
yes, but it's not. All I'm saying is, if we look at traditional schools as the only educational institutions, we miss the mark, and we're missing great opportunities to organize and educate our people. I'm trying to say that education doesn't only take place in a school building. And if it did, I would be a deaf, dumb, blind Negro, for sure. For sure. I went to all private schools, went to the best schools, Syracuse, Cornell, UMass. If it was all about where you go to school, I'd be one of these Uncle Tom Negroes for sure. But it was because I was in Africana Studies and Research Center with Dr. James Turner and Asi Lumumba, who were African nationalists, right? Who are schooling me, even in this Ivy League white school. And even in this white Catholic school, I had Mr. Davis and Mr. Alvarez, who taught us about patriarchy and matrilineal society, right in the belly of the beast. And I had Chuck, who owned a game room, who was screaming on Guyanan politics and revolution and Marxism. And it wasn't in a school building. That's all I'm trying to say, family. That's encouraging, because it means in places that don't have those schools, we can still organize the resources in our village to act as African-centered education outlets for our people. That's all I was trying to say. But if you stuck on that idea, gotta be this, we lost. That's all I'm saying. We gotta broaden the way we think.
Hold on. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think we're saying the same thing, but for me, I am somewhat stuck on that importance of having our own institutions. I understand what you're saying. There are things that we can learn in their institution, and if things work out, we get the right combination, and you could come out, as a leader of the race. But
I'm going further. I'm not saying you could. You gave me all these names, and I showed you that all of those people, none of them went to African-centered school. That is a fact. It's not a belief. What I'm saying is we should take something from that.
But you do have to acknowledge, of all those people that we talked about going through those schools, there was still at the end only a small number of our people that were dedicated to our liberation. So we have to account for how many of our people were lost to that educational system and integrated into that system and, found their place, found their home in that system instead of continuing to work to build something for ourselves.
Point taken, no argument from me, but do understand that we are colonized people. We are people who are a colony controlled by someone else, where everything we need for survival comes from them. So I get into some of these conversations with some of my brothers in my fellow nationalist community, and I give them very extreme statements, outlandish statements to make a point. I say, so if you so against everything the white man, give me all his money you got in your pocket with all his images on it. Give me every dead president you got, brother. You don't want the white man's money, give me that money. And those clothes you got, give me that too. Or that car you driving and the gas you put, give me all that. That's the white man's. That would be absurd, right? Because the understanding is, Agyei, come on, man. We're in captivity, bro. Right? So the understanding of everything we say is that we're fighting in the belly of the beast. And sometimes we get compromised, and sometimes we make concessions because we have to. That's just part of what it is. We have to make some concession. That's the reality we live in. But we have an intentionality that it ain't always going to be like this, and we're working to disrupt this, and we're working to have an independent nation, whether that's a nation within a nation or on a separate actual territory or whatever, right? But we have to know the reality we're in. If we gave the white man back everything he had, if we took that statement to its furthest logical point, we'd be naked, out of doors, walking everywhere with no shoes and no drawers and no sanitary napkins and no toilet tissue. I mean, but we're not going to do that. I'm making the extreme point to bring us back and say we have to be practical. We are a colonized people. So when black people come and beat us up, you deaf, dumb, and blind. Yeah, we deaf, dumb, and blind. Of course we're deaf, dumb, and blind. We are colonized by an enemy who works night and day to keep us deaf, dumb, and blind. Don't make people feel bad for that. Help them understand how it works and help and educate them. That's what I'm saying. Use what's that? So for instance, when a guerrilla army in Cuba, when Fidel got them 20 people up in the mountains and they fighting the Bautista and them, what weapons did Fidel and them have? The motherfuckers had knives and hatchets and stones. What weapons did the traditional conventional army have? They had real weapons. So did the guerrilla soldiers say, "Oh, we can't listen to my logic. We can't use their weapons. That's the enemy's weapons. We got to use these inferior weapons. We can't use their guns." No, that would be absolute insanity. What they said was, we're going to use what we got, and we're going to kill them, and we're going to take their superior weapons and use it against them. So even when you make the argument, people went to the white man's school. Guess what? I committed class suicide. I went to his best schools. I used everything I learned against his ass for decades. And there's many people that do that. Some of you have done that. That's about consciousness and character. And that was one of my points, actually. That brings me to a point.
I mean, I get it. Like I said, I think we all agree. I think we all agree. But I don't want to be made feel like we're doing something wrong because we're saying we need a. And honestly, that was not Amos Wilson that taught me that we need an African-centered education. So, you know what I'm saying? That writers, who taught me a lot on critical thinking. So I think it is the intentionality behind what we're building. I think that's where we have to kind of stay focused. Why are we building these things? Because a lot of times, a lot of people are popping up saying we got schools, but we're not producing strong African children. And that's my thing, that I want to produce African children that can go anywhere they want to go. Because once it's instilled in here, like you said, now we get the leash off. If they want to go to college, let them do it. Because they already African on the inside, but they got to have that strong cultural grounding. No matter how they get the education, they got to have that real seeding in them, and they're not going to depart like the church said. Us train them up. They ain't gonna go nowhere. So I think we just have. I think we all are agreeing, but I think that's why I said I'm
agreeing. I'm challenging certain things to make us think differently. So let me ask you: if you got to use the toilet. If you got to use the toilet for number 2, do you need toilet tissue?
I do.
No, listen carefully. Do you need toilet tissue?
Well,
no, you do not. It's the ideal.
Well, I would like.
Listen. What were people doing before toilet tissue?
They probably using leaves.
Okay, so it's the same argument. It's saying, listen. You take what you got and you do your best with it until you get better. There's a reality and there's an ideal. There's a real and an ideal. We work for the ideal, but right now we do what we got to do. If it's the white man schools we got to go to.
We've been kind of living in this spook who sat beside the door mentality for years, like we trying to infiltrate, and we've been getting gobbled up. Not that I say we can't, but we can't be spooked that sat beside the door, because then we become the jigaboos in the room.
Possibly.
You get what I'm saying?
That's why.
Because it's like when we infiltrate, that's what I get to worry about when we infiltrate the love affair, and now people becoming even more colonized and washed out. So that's what I agree with both of y'all. John, we got to be careful. It's not saying we can't mix it up, but we got to be careful because we are fragile people.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. Let me say something. But my thing is, like, I'm taught from the guardian perspective to think long term, to think in game, you know, and we're talking about the idea of creating our own institutions, but at the same time, we're saying, you know, that our teachers gave us this information over 100 years ago. So, you know, to what Obasi's saying, how long should it take, or how long do we have to, you know, just work with what we have before we wake up, you know, and do something for ourselves? You know, do we have to just continue to, for the next 50 years, you know, go into his system? But and that's why I'm so passionate about, no, I want to, if nobody else is going to die on this fight, I'll die on this fight. We got to build our own institutions as soon as possible. You know, I don't want to be 50 years, 60 years, and then we still don't have plans for the institution. Go ahead, my brother.
Just so you know, Brother John, I am not suggesting we don't do that. I'm an advocate for that, right? One of my jigglers is Brother Kaba Kameni. Kaba Kameni worked with me in a public school in the Bronx. And he worked in public schools for most of his life. And he told me, once I retire, brother, and get the white man's pension, I'm going to do what I really wanted to do all my life. And that's when he took over. Now Brother Kaba's all over the place, all over the world. And he's teaching teachers to be African-centered. He's writing, helping them write curriculums. He's doing wonderful work. Brother Marcus Klein in Chicago, Freedom Home International. That he's, Brother Kaba's going to these people and teaching them. But guess what? Guess where he got his training, his feet wet? Guess where he learned how to do classroom management with unruly kids? Guess where he learned how to do lesson planning? So I'm not saying, listen, this is not an either or, good brother. It's a both and. We're trying to win. I'm not one up you, and you're not trying to one up me. We just saying that strategy, the oppression we face is multi-layered and sophisticated. It's a 20-headed dragon, good brother. So 2 swords ain't going to do that, right? We need several swords cutting them heads off, and some of those heads regenerate when we cut them off. So it means that our approach has to be multi-layered and sophisticated. That means we need some of our people infiltrating their organizations and coming back and feeding to us the information so that we know how to move, what they're planning to do and what weapons they got. And we need some of our people that's like, man, F that. I'm straight with the people. I'm never going with the enemy. Fine. To me, it's not personal. I'm trying to win. Whatever that takes, that's what I'm supporting. And what I've seen is that Harriet Tubman was right. But guess what? Booker T. Washington was right. Oh, but wait, Garvey was right. The boys they was all right. It's just that they came from different angles, and maybe part of their analysis was a little shaky in this area. But all of them had something important. What I'm saying is it's not going to be one approach to win this battle. There's no way that's going to happen. And may I further add, this is what I do to keep myself humble. When I'm feeling like I got it all figured out, I did an ABC. I'll be like, Agyei, is every one of your family members free, financially independent? Do you have family members that never had to go to jail, that never had to drop out of school, that never had to be on drugs? Nope. So guess what, brother? You don't have it figured out. So here's the thing. None of us have it figured out. The greatest didn't have it all figured out. They're trying their best to grapple with it, and most of them got cut down too early to turn the corner like a Malcolm. So once we remember that means there's a lot of room for what? dialogue and debate. There's a lot of room for new approaches. There's a lot of room to reimagine things and look at it differently. I'm not married to any one thing. I'm only married to Black liberation. That's it. So my brother, speaking of Garvey is the man. We don't even have to go further with that. That is what it is, right? But Garvey built on people too, right? He built off of people. Noble Drew Ali, some say, influenced Garvey, and some say Garvey, that Elijah Muhammad was a Garveyite. So all of these people kind of added something to that gumbo. But nobody had it all figured out, because once again, if they did, we'd be free. It's not.
Like I said, I think we saying the same thing. I mean, we are, in essence, we agreeing. But, you know, like back to my brother Don saying.
We're not saying the same thing, but look, Basi, that's cool though. We don't have to say the same thing.
I think in one way or another we are. We just saying different ways, different angles.
All 1 million Black people see this right here.
I do.
This right here is real.
Yeah, dude.
This discussion right here. I don't know what your other shows is like. I haven't seen them. This right here, because it's raising the critical questions. It's not a bunch of people kissing each other's ass. And it's people say, nah, this is
no.
Ain't nobody offending nobody. Ain't nobody calling nobody out there.
If you come to me 100 times, Africa, being straight up African is the way that we should go. But that don't necessarily mean we can't use other stuff. But in this case,
I'm with that. But listen, we gotta understand that. I don't want to say. We have to remember that more informed, more experienced people than us, who believe what we believe and who may even set up what we believe, failed. They came close and they did. So all I'm saying is always remember that whatever it is you believe, whatever your approach, it's not perfect. It needs something. It needs another angle. You need to look differently. So one of the points I was going to raise, right, was scholarship. Scholarship is not going and reading and getting documentaries and doing interviews to verify what you already believe. That's not scholarship. That's dogma. So if you said, the white man's a devil, I'm going to try to find every book to prove. No, that's not scholarship. Scholarship is a search for truth and wisdom and understanding. My boy Scott Brown at UCLA wrote this book about the US organization. He was a big-time US member back in the day when we was in grad school. He loved Karenga. Everything was Karenga. And he's going to write this dissertation because people was dissing Karenga, and this book was going to say Karenga's the man. You know what? He interviewed those women that were tortured, nipples ripped off with wrenches, good brother. Water hoses stuffed down their throats, good brother. Sister in a tiger cage for weeks, good brother. He interviewed them. They're crying. They're bugging out. Older women. He went through the FBI. He went through everything. And you know what he said? Agyei, I can't support him no more. Now that is a scholar. Because what that man did, he went to try to big his boy up. He said, I got to follow the truth. He didn't diss him. He wrote this book, Fighting for Us. Beautiful book. But he cleared his name. He proved he wasn't an Asian. Right? But he didn't diss him. He showed the balance. But he said, I can't be a part of that no more. Because I don't support those things. Even though he went to jail and paid his dues. That's scholarship. What we are doing is we're being involved in cliquism. So it's like, if Malcolm X is my man, I'm trying to read everything I can to prove he's the man. But if I'm a real scholar of Malcolm, guess what? I can break down the criticisms of Malcolm. I can talk about his patriarchy. I can talk about how he said that these women are nothing but untrustworthy flesh, and I don't trust none of them. And my wife only trusts 75%.
Right. Right.
We got to talk about that.
Oh, see, no, you don't get no.
But to Malcolm's credit, he didn't stay there.
Exactly, because that's why I was coming.
And he got to see, man, I was wrong. That's who we're supposed to be like Malcolm.
Exactly.
Malcolm, he didn't get so mad. He used to be like that in the nation. He was in a clique, a cult. You gotta believe this. If you don't believe this, you're the enemy. It's this way. Nah. When he got out to the world, he said, no, where I was taught, but I believe that wasn't all right. He is one of our, that's why I say he is the reincarnated self of, he is the Marcus Garvey of the late 20th century.
Think so?
I absolutely believe so. And I believe that he's the example, man, that he was one of them soldiers that you couldn't tell him nothing. It was nation, it was Elijah Muhammad. And then he said, no, I was wrong. And he had the humility to admit. Not many people can do that. Study something for 13 years, and then you got to come back and say, damn, I was wrong. That's the people that's going to lead our people to freedom.
That was El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. So after because he had a few transitions in his life, and I understand what you're saying, but his final form, El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, that's when he was most reflective on everything.
And yet he also said, until my people, as long as my people are catching hell, my name is Malcolm X. That's what he said. Primary research, not our interpretation. That's what the man said. You see what I'm saying?
I feel.
So we gotta go by what he said. He's like, yeah, I'm Omawali in Nigeria, and I'm named El Hajj over here. But you know what? I'm not so caught up in Islam that I'm gonna forget who I am and where I'm from. And I respect that. But think about it. He goes from being a straight up misogynist, fam, in every way you can imagine it, to a brother that now forms this organization of Afro-American unity, and he's out in the streets of Harlem recruiting the sister named Lynn, I can't remember her last name. There's 2 black women. And he put them in leadership position. He went back to Africa. And the sisters are calling him like Malcolm. They're dissing us. They're not respecting our leadership. Malcolm came back and lambasted everybody in the OAU. So these sisters right here are leaders. They're authentic, and you will submit to their leadership. He changed. That's what it's about, becoming a better person. I hear a lot of ideology today in the community. I'm not hearing people talk about how do we make jealous, spiteful, vindictive, insecure, materialistic people better. I'm not hearing that. And that's the fundamental question. Once the Asada says it's not enough to change the system, we got to change ourselves. And I'm not hearing that. So people can quote all this and that, and they stealing from the community, and they disrespecting the sisters, and they not raising their kids. We got to make revolution is also about making ourselves better fundamental people. And whether those people call themselves African or Black or New African or whatever they call themselves, that's one of the key things I think is being missed. And if you study all the Black liberation movement, not even just the 60s on, but like even before that, you're going to see that a lot of these leaders came to see, damn, I was wrong about some stuff. Look at King. I'm afraid I've integrated my people into a burning house. Hell, that's the man I want leading my organization. Because he's telling me he's humble enough to admit that Malcolm was right the whole damn time. And guess what? W.B. Du Bois dies at 95 years old in Ghana. What does he say? Say, I was battling Garvey all those years. I call him out his name. I just not. And where does he die? In Ghana. What does he do? Renounces his citizenship. Calls out the Communist Party. He's saying, damn, I had it wrong. Garvey, he was right. That's what we should be learning from this. People are getting to places they don't have it all figured out, man. I don't have half of it figured out. I'm trying, man. I don't. So these conversations, for me, are therapeutic, man. these type of these bills, man. Like I need this in my life, like, and I need to hear people challenge me. We need to hear people agree. You know, that's important.
Right.
But we don't have this figured out, man. This thing is complex.
I think we all know that, like you said, because if we did, we'd be free. And then if I'm in the room with everybody agreeing, that means we ain't gonna get nothing done because there's no opposing view. We need an opposing view to become stronger. Yeah, man. No, I'm with it. It's just some things I'm just tired of, man. Like I said, and like you talk about this misogyny of the brothers. That's why, like I always say, we need some sisters. I don't like the sausage parties, man. I don't like where it's just the brothers around. I don't like them sausage parties, man. You know what I'm saying? I want some thighs. And not even in a sexual way, but you need that divine feminine, and we losing sight of that because we just want to be the brothers, and we just and I go back and I say, okay, I am really, and not that names matter, but I really was taught by Mama Marilla Ani. So she really poured a lot and showed me a lot of really the African worldview. So that's why my mentality is so strong of how we thinking. Not more so what we doing, but how we thinking. We could, like you said, we can have the Kofi, we can have the we be straight up Negro P. But yeah, man, it's just, I like this, man. This is probably one of my favorite ones right here, man. But we got John on fire, man.
But Brother Bossy, I think I gotta give it to Brother Rebel. I'm gonna be quick, Brother Rebel. Oh shoot, he talking.
Nah, you got it.
Rebel, you saying something?
Nah, you got it.
Okay. I think I gotta give Brother Rebel and Brother Kenwardo credit for what they're doing, because we will get to the sisters. They will come, not necessarily saying on this platform, but we got to get ourselves together first. And Brother Agyei, I hope I'm saying it right. Agyei. Okay. I'm glad you mentioned something, because I was going to ask you about it. When we first started this thing, you were going through like a 9 or 10 point program or something. And the first thing that you said was the white man, or the Caucasian, like we got to deal with him and those that are like him or think like him. And I guess that's the same thing.
Basically, like identifying the enemy. Knowing
those that identify with the enemy.
Knowing our enemy.
Okay. But yeah, I'm going to take it a step back. And this is where you were kind of speaking to it towards the end, but it's we got to look at ourselves, so I got to look at myself. You have to look at yourself. We have to hold ourselves personally accountable. Then amongst this group, of men or of people that consider themselves of a certain mindset, we have to hold that group accountable. But a lot of our issues come from ourselves, like you said, even when you talk about the 60s and post-liberation, so to speak, we started to fight ourselves, so we do have to address that internal enemy, and that's going to be a primary for us. That's pretty primary. Before we could even, we know the white man is the white man. We expect him to be the white man. We don't expect anything else of him, but we got to clean ourselves up, and we got to make sure our brothers clean themselves up, and then we'll get to the sisters and cleaning themselves up. But I just want to touch on, that personal aspect of addressing what Garvey calls the good and evil within man.
That's good though, because like I said again, I go back to in Nation Builder. I work with a lot of, I think like the youngest one I'm working with is 21. So like I said, it's important to work with those ones that's behind us. So then we think about, okay, and that's a mixed group. That's got sisters and that's got brothers in there. But for certain areas, we need a good balance, because we need sisters to hear how black men think too. You know what I'm saying? And we have, sometimes we gotta, like, and and everybody know I don't have a problem with knocking the Nation of Islam, but I want to kind of get the men are here and the women are there. Sometimes we got to come together. Sometimes we got to see what it's like for us to be sitting among each other and having some mixed conversations. Sometimes I want to hear how the sisters think in a crowd when we're talking about relationships. We speak on sisters, but ain't no sisters in the room. They speaking on brothers, but ain't no brothers in the room. So I think it's important that we build our own spaces and they have theirs, but we can't forget that we need to collect the space because we need children to see us talk because we're a family circle. So we need the children to see, oh, mom and dad or auntie and uncle or whoever, that they can see male and female sit down and we not blaming. I feel like we blame each other too much and we're not really looking at, we're talking about the side effects of racism, white terror, you know, but we never really talk about the real cause of it, who's doing it. We're not placing the blame where we should be. So I think more as we begin to build more stuff, we got to have a lot. Like brother said, this is mixed martial arts. I don't do the boxing no more. And they breaking arms and they breaking ankles. So we got to mix it up a bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. My point is only you only get one chance to make a first impression. And another thing, success is when preparation meets opportunity. The opportunity is coming. All I'm saying is for us to appreciate and value this time for us to get ourselves together, you know, so that when we do open those doors and the women come in, it's respectful. It's reciprocity. It's not, you know, where we have that patriarchal mindset of I'm the man, you know, you the woman, this is the way it's going to be. And then we ruin the relationship and we end up taking 2 steps back. That's all I'm saying, you know.
You're right on that, man, because that's the goal of what we moving out of is I'm the man, they got to go. Because, you know, the masculine energy is declining. If we really keep it real and we look, we got a bunch of crying Me Too brothers now. And that's not what's up. That's not what's up with really building masculinity. That's not what's up. The young homies got to see strong men. Khalid Muhammad wasn't walking around crying about the black woman not respecting him. Imagine Garvey sitting around talking about, oh, the black woman won't. So we got to start, like the brother say, I always say, that's my word. We got to have some real-time conversations because, man, we cracking in a lot of places. So we at a point of like, where do we start? Well, we start with healing. We start with conversation like this.
Yeah. And I want to not piggyback. I want to continue what you said about kind of you talking about trauma. So one of the things is that we've been traumatized in so many ways, right? So it's kind of like, oh, do I go out and help the community and my family goes to shit? Or do I just focus on my family and become selfish and self-absorbed and don't connect with the community? So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And it seems to me, it's just my opinion, that it's lifting as we climb. Marian Wright Elderman, I think she founded the Children's Defense Fund or whatever. That's their motto. And I love that. And there's a painting, I think it's called He's Not Heavy, He's My Brother. And the brother's over the fence and he got his arm and he's pulling up another brother. So for me, it's like, I could take 40, 50 years of my life to get right. and meanwhile, the community's inundated with drugs and all types of craziness. Or I could be like, I'm going to be in the community and I have no self-development. My thing is we got to lift as we climb, man. Like, I'm 53. I'm retraining myself on financial literacy. I'm relearning how to love and what love is supposed to look like and feel like. I'm relearning a lot of things. And while I'm doing that, I'm still doing my work for and with the community. So for me, it's about lifting as we climb and being really humble to say, man, there's a lot I don't know. And being willing to say, I'm going to learn the things that I think are important to know. And I'm going to share it with people. And I'm going to be willing to listen to other people, even if I disagree with them. To me, that's what it's all about when you break it all the way down. Like, we got to be able to be like, yo, I do not feel this brother right here. But I feel this is what he says. And I feel that he's sincere. So after this, I'm going to go and you may find yourself thinking about something somebody here said that you disagreed with, right? When you heard it. But then later on, you're like, damn, that's true. or you read something, or you see something in the community, like, damn, that's what we was talking about. And to me, that's how it works on the ground in real life. That's how it really works. You know, synthesis, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. That's how it works. That's a blessing. I tell you what, if I needed a muscle man, I'm going with that brother Rebel with a cause. He is quiet. He's the quiet assassin. I can tell. That brother move in silence. I see it, brother. I see you.
Now, I'll speak a little something. But now, we appreciate your full spectrum analysis viewpoints. Definitely, we all agree with that. There's many layers to this whole spectrum. And y'all was all literally saying the same thing, like, but on different degrees in my perspective, because we need that first foundational African logic. Then once you grow into that, then now you can go into the world and understand the white man's tricks or his literary reversals and everything he do. From his historical point that he be tricking everybody with the lie. That's the truth at the same time. So we love you, brother Agyei, man. The rebel.
Trick everybody with a lie. Every morning you wake up.
It was mutual.
Yeah, you definitely got booed out of here if you weren't talking about it, right?
This how we do, though. I'm glad that you felt comfortable.
Absolutely. I'm amongst men. That's how we do. Men will fight and curse each other out, and 10 minutes later, yo, man, let's go get a beer.
You
Right.
know.
That's how real men do.
That's old school right there.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be.
You're trying to pick the brains of the gods of the community. And you speak until you listen.
Oh, my queen is over here. She said she's hearing it, she enjoys it as well.
Oh, yeah.
Please, queen.
Yeah.
To the queen.
Right. But yeah, before you get back to the clarity list, because you at number 3, you could just, pinpoint, run through them now. If you
okay. Let's see.
I'm being quiet alone this time, bro.
Knowledge, scholarship.
Right after.
Oh, mastery. This dude that wrote this book, The 48 Laws of Power, he wrote The Art of Seduction. He wrote The 33 Strategies of War. But he also wrote Mastery. It's a wonderful book. And mastery is this idea that we have a craft that at some point in our life we say, this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm here to do. And I'm going to put all my time and energy into mastering this thing so that I am one of the best, whatever it is, in this field, engineering, whatever it is. And I think we've lost that concept of mastery. I think what's happened is because of capitalism, people try and get a buck and maintain, survive. You got the brother that's he writing books and he sells jewelry, he shines shoes, he make bean pies. He's on the street corner with the knowledge, and it's like, yo, bro. I think from looking at our history, what it seems to work best for us is somebody says, this is why I'm here, this is my thing. I may have 10 skills, but this is the thing that I wake up for. This is the thing that I could do this all day and for no money. This is the thing, when I do this thing, I forget to eat and sleep. And that's what I'm going to build on and be a craftsman so that we can have, like it used to be in times of antiquity, when we got our young boys and we got the master warrior, not the brother that pull out the heat and shoot somebody he wasn't aiming at. The brother that's a master warrior to teach them how to fight. The brother that's a master intellectual to teach them how to think. We've lost that. Everyone's trying to be this kind of hodgepodge of everything. And a jack of all trades is the master of none. I think we should bring the apprentice system back. When I came up in Harlem, I went to the First World Alliance. That's where Dr. Clark, Leonard Jeffries, James Smalls, then she was known as Donna Richards. Now she's Marimba Ani. They were all there teaching that knowledge every Saturday. $2 or $3, you got to go check them out. Then you had Slave Theater in Brooklyn. And you had all these places you went and you got fed. And if an elder saw something in you, pull you aside, exchange information. Now they feeding you books. What did you think about this book? No. You got to reread that. You got the wrong interpretation. Why? Because if you just study by yourself with nobody who's superior knowledge, how do you know you're right or wrong? So I support being self-taught, but you still, like even John Henry Clark had Arturo Schomburg, like you still got to have somebody that knows more than you to say, no, brother, you're misreading that. Go back, check that out. We need to bring that back. We have to bring that back so that scholars are sharp. Even if people disagree with them, you got to respect the scholarship because they're sharp. We lost that. So what's happened in our community is we have what I call the point guard or running back complex. So you grew up around your way. I'm assuming that probably all of you were athletes, right?
Right.
Okay. But you like sports? Okay. So you had the brother on the team that was 800 pounds, slow as oatmeal up a hill, couldn't dribble, but he wanted to be a point guard. Why? Because the point guard gets what? The love, the attention. The girl's like, ooh, you saw what he did? Or you want to be the running back, but you slow, you fumble the ball. You know, so what has happened is people are gravitating to careers and activities in which they suck. But they're doing it because they think that this is going to give them something to fill that void, to feel like somebody, right? I think that there should be a concerted effort to help young people determine what they're good at and what they love to do, and then work with them to develop that craft. And then it's not about test just on paper and pencil. It becomes your test is the real world. If I'm teaching a brother entrepreneurship, his test is he has to raise this amount of money by this time. Boom. Straight like that. That's how the apprentice system used to work. If you're a leader, then you have to be able to create a campaign, attract X amount of people, and do whatever everybody has a set amount of time. And we know they're ready when they can do these things successfully and effectively. Too many people, I've heard you talk about it. I think brother that left, he sent me a video. I saw some of it. You all were talking about how people ain't ready. I call these people sophomores. They got a little bit of knowledge. They read the first chapter of the biography of Malcolm X, and now they think they're a Malcolm X expert. Those type people, right? Sophomores. Now, they can be innocent and harmless, but what happens when that sophomore who don't know what the fuck he's talking about is now leading a mass organization?
Right.
What happens when the sister don't know what the hell she talking about? Is right? Now we have a problem. So to prevent that, we have to encourage mastery. Not making nobody feel bad. Let people know, like, yo, I love you, but you suck at this. But you know what I noticed? When I left you alone, all the people that was arguing, you was able to calm it down. You was able to broker peace. I think you have leadership potential. Let me work with you. That's what needs to happen more. And that could be through rites of passage or whatever, but that's one thing I want to say. Mastery. Everyone develops mastery in something, and instead of trying to be everything, because when you try to do everything, you're gonna fail in a lot of things. You build a team of people who are experts in those other things, and as a team, y'all rock out instead of one person trying to be everything. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, Brother Agyei. Because you said something previously earlier, and I wanted to ask you a question about it, but now it seems like it makes a little bit more sense. But you said a comment, you have to let people be, and that's what I wrote down. So I don't know where you were going with that, like officially, but if to your point of what if that 800-pound brother just wants to be the point guard or wants to be the running back, you know, and then you, but you were saying, but earlier we were saying you can't have a totalitarian or authoritarian mindset. And it seems like help me understand.
There's a difference. Good point. There's a critical difference. In one case, what we're saying is, if somebody says, but I don't like wearing frankincense and Egyptian musk, and I don't like wearing mudcloth, and I don't like wearing fitted hats, and I don't like saying Agyei, and I don't know Swahili, that we don't chastise them for those choices. I like beef, I like chicken, I like swine, and that doesn't become, oh, you eat pig, oh, we can't rock with you. I mean, you got a brother who's a vegan and vegetarian that's a community predator to the worst degree, because your priorities of how you're judging people are wrong. That's what I was talking about. But when we're talking about something based on merit, brother, that's different. We got to be able to say, I know you want to be a surgeon, but your Parkinson's kind of gets in the way. So I'm sorry, brother, but you can't do that. We have to have people, when stuff is based on merit and ability, no. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm glad you raised it. Mastery helps people understand that some things you are not going to, there's some things you want to do that you can't do, not because we're telling you can't do it, because you're not demonstrating the ability or aptitude or competence to do it. So if I want a bridge built, I'm not going to go to the brothers on the corner that's talking about we need bridges and don't know nothing about mechanical engineering. I'm not talking about they went to school. I'm just saying they don't know about mechanical engineering. You ain't building no bridge for me. I'm going to the people who know how to do that. If I want a heart surgery, I'm not going to the brother that they ain't never been to medical school, they never picked up a book on it, don't know anatomy. No, it's common sense. You go to the people, in other words, he or she who is best qualified should lead with respect to a given thing, whether they're man, male, female, whatever. That's what I'm saying. So when it's based on merit, we gotta be like, nah. Our team is here to learn, but we also here to win.
And look, if we run on the team, I don't want no 800-pound point guard. Look, bro, you get up here at the center and you bang. You just post up. You're not good at this. You keep getting us 8-second violations coming over.
But see, that's my point. My point, I feel like that's one of the challenges to trying to organize our people. Like you got people trying to do things that they're not necessarily qualified for, but they're still trying to say, hey, I want to help, So how do you, it's like, hey, I know you want to help, you want to do this, but it's not right for you, So
see, in another month, I'm finishing up my 5th book. This book is going to be on grassroots organizing and leadership. And that's exactly the type of stuff I'm tackling, I'm dealing with. It's saying that we have to build capacity to be able to say, in no uncertain terms, with love and with complete empathy, you suck. Not only do you suck, I don't see that you exhibiting the behaviors, the habits you must have to do this. You're not methodical. You're not tedious. You don't have focus. You can't you're not good for this. People are depending on these qualities. However, we don't leave them there, brother. We say, however, our brotherhood circle has noticed that you are phenomenal with art. You've been doodling when we've been talking. You don't pay attention. See? So you can't do this. But your doodles are amazing. And art, you see, this is what I mean. An engaged community that is observant and empathetic, where people don't feel when you correct them, they're not feeling like you're trying to humiliate them because you built that type of, relationship. And you might put them on and now let me say this too, it works in reverse. Take Michael Jordan. Apparently he sucked in high school and he got cut. But he was that type of dude. He had the physical abilities, he had a growth spurt, and he had an indomitable will.
Working.
He had the type of was like, hey, all right, I'm gonna show you. Now you might meet a sister or brother like that, who they have that something in them, and they will themselves to be successful. But guess what? Would he have been that way if he wasn't cut? Would he have been that way if he wasn't cut?
Like that.
Maybe that's what he needed.
Hey, brother Agyei, if you remember in the autobiography, Malcolm tried boxing too, didn't he?
Boy got his ass whooped 2 times.
Do you remember what happened to him when he tried to box?
Yeah, I remember that.
He got beat so bad, his brother wrestled him, kind of looked at him funny, his brother wrestled him, So he realized throwing them hands, that wasn't his skill set at that time. Hey, maybe I need to be doing something else. And that's real, man. Sometimes you have to have that constructive criticism of love. Say, hey, bro, I love you, but...
And Bumpy Johnson told him, yo, brother, love you, but you suck as a hustler.
Yeah.
Get on out of here.
Exactly.
Get on out of here. They're going to kill you. You suck as a hustler.
West Indian Archie
Tupac had the same experience. West Indian Archie, that's right. And Tupac said he tried it for a week or 2 and he sucked.
He was bad at it. They say, hey, you don't do this. You do this.
And that's great. Yeah, because somebody was there to redirect him into something that apparently he was phenomenal at. And still doesn't get enough credit. When he took that Thug Life acronym, him and brother Matulu, and put that in the prisons, that was genius. Brilliant use of poetry and politics and a fusion. That's what I'm talking about. And I think that if I were, no, let me not even say it like that. I would love to work with fellow educators and organizers and create a totally different school model that, let's say, like from grades 1 to 3 or 5, all we're doing is observing you. We're putting you in these situations and we're closely observing how you operate in these different scenarios, teaching you those foundational skills, but observing you. Do you work well with people? Do you work well with objects? Do you work well with ideas? Do you work well by yourself? Do you work well with groups? Are you a dreamer? Are you a visionary? All those things. And that maybe by 6th to 8th grade, they are now put into they're kind of steered into fields, classes that develop those things. So you might have your engineers and your doctors and your attorneys and your dancers and your dramatists and your writers and your scholars. All these people are going into these kind of different things. So what would happen? The kids would never be absent because they're doing what they love to do and what they're good at doing and what they succeed at doing and what they get positive feedback for doing. But secondly, and they wouldn't be there like, why am I in biology class? Right? They'd be doing exactly what they want to do. And then my thinking is that from 8th to 12th, they actually are doing that. They actually have internships. They're actually in the community. Some of the day is in class or in labs, and some of the day is out in the field doing the real work. I think the whole school, the way they look at it, should be scrapped completely. It's an outdated model. Completely outdated. The entrepreneurs don't need to be in no school all day. The entrepreneurs need to be out there hustling and making, you know what I'm trying to say? Passing that information on and other people need to be in the school different times. And some people need to be in the lab. And then we need warriors. Guess what? When I was coming up in Harlem, there was dudes that just was knocking cats out, and that's what they did. My man in high school, my man, Sean Brown, is a bad boy. He had a line of dudes, high school, mind you, waiting at our table to pay him money every day. Give him money. I'm like, what is this? Oh, they paying me money, paying me tax. Now, it could fight, could grapple, could wrestle, could everything, could shoot, could box. Those people need a place too. That's your military. If it was me, I would use sports teams to identify my military. Because the warriors you're going to find in sports. It's the closest thing we have. The fast, the strong, the people that's ready to fight, the people that don't care what you say, the people that, oh, fuck you, the fast ball. Those are your warriors. In Africa, they would have been in a training program to fight, but we're not in Africa. We train them to play ball. We train them to run. So I just think the whole thing should be rethought and done differently. And that's what frustrates me about being colonized, is that you can have these great ideas, you can have the skill set, but you're constantly in a situation where you can't operationalize the stuff in your head because you're, dependent on them, or you got to go to some sister that got to go to some white man for approval, or, that's the frustration. If we could work past that, and I think it's why Black men die so early. You know that we die younger than every human being on this planet, Black men. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Black men. Why? Stress, holding it in, no release, blamed for everything, no second chances. I mean, it's rough. And we're not taught to deal with trauma. We're taught that to be vulnerable makes you, I was going to say an inappropriate word. It makes you soft or whatever. So we don't have the tools. So it's like it's so much that we got to learn. Like mental health should be a class. Knowing how to meditate. When I was in elementary school, how come elementary school students aren't taught how to meditate? It should be one of the first things they learn. How to calm themselves down. How to focus on something. How to decompress. You know what I mean? So those things is like the schools in Africa, let's say, they taught you what you needed to know to survive in that society or contribute. So when they put that bag over your head and they whisked your ass away to some other place and you had that rites of initiation, they taught you every skill you needed to go back in that village and participate meaningfully. And if you didn't pass that, you were considered a boy forever. No woman would look at you. Now that's incentive for your ass. Ain't no woman looking at you. You gonna be in that class taking care of your business, right or wrong. But it's different here. Everything's different. And I just think I'm not impractical. This is not ancient Africa. There are differences. But I think we have to go reconnect with some of those ways and tweak them because our salvation lies in going backwards. Our problem is Sankofa says it's not a crime to go back and fetch. Fetching implies you throw the ball to Fido goes and gets it, but he don't stay there. He brings the ball back. We stay in we stay in ancient Africa and we don't come back here. We got to come back. So that's my only thing, But y'all, let me ask, what ages are you brothers? Are y'all like in 30s, late 20s?
I'm 51.
Nah, I ain't 20s, 30s.
I'm 51.
You 51, brother? I have what you drinking.
I'm 41 in a few more months.
let me get what you drinking, brother. That's all I'm saying. Cause I got all this here, man. Probably look like I'm about 70. Y'all are at a critical. If you're in your 30s, 40s, that's a critical time. Those people there are the bridge. They're the bridge. It's like my generation in a sense. We're like the hip hop generation, in a sense, bridging the jazz generation before us. But through y'all 30 and 40s, man, woo, powerful, very powerful. Because you bring all of what we bring in those before us, and you have a slightly different sensibility, a slightly different swag, a slightly different way that you operate. And if y'all, not just y'all, but y'all really appreciate that and hone that in, powerful, man. Because the babies, you can't be corny and reach our babies. Y'all know that. The babies don't even listen. So y'all come with a kind of like, you kind of bring the best of both worlds. So I love opportunities to speak to the 30 and 40 something crew. I love it. And I just think that has to happen more often, that we have that kind of intergenerational dialogue. There's stuff I got to unlearn, but I learned because of my generation. It had nothing to do with me. It was just what they taught us, you know?
Yeah.
And y'all will be like, nah, brother, you can't do that because you're going to crumble and die. Like, you got to treat it this way. So this type of thing is really powerful. And I appreciate being invited.
Nah, you're welcome back anytime, OG. No doubt. We want you back.
Right.
Yeah, you definitely got to come back.
Brother Bossy was laughing at me earlier. He's like, who's this clown up in here with the black Yankees hat?
Security. He's security. He watched over the village that night. So, you know, it's a good thing. The dialogue was ill. But run down the last clarity list. Just hit us with them before we
Yes, sir. Okay. I have a thing. This is going to be in my book too. But I have a thing called five challenging types of people in our movement. And people we need to develop strategies to neutralize their effects or their negative effects. One is the cynic, the fault finder, the nitpicker, doesn't have faith, doesn't believe, argumentative, contentious, wants to be the devil's advocate all the time. He, she, or she brings a negative energy. They are poison. They're toxic to an organization because the person is trying to build morale and hope, and this person just burns it down. Then I have the cheerleader. The cheerleader is the type that, Agyei, that's right. No matter what's being said, uncritical. They clapping for some shit that's outlandish. Like, what? We should bring slavery back. Son, what are you talking about, sister? Just uncritical. That's right. Nah. They lack the ability to understand that you can love and support people, but you got to critically support people. You got to be able to correct people and redirect them when they're going off the cliff. Then you got the grandstander, who, as you might imagine, is the whore for attention.
Right.
The grandstander be up in your meeting, y'all having a town hall meeting on how you gonna get rid of this slumlord. The grandstander, they're talking about all the people they met, pulling out pictures of them with different leaders and talking about, it's like, yo, sit down, bro. We're not even talking about that. Sit down. We're not talking about, it's not about you. And you can't trust them because since they're whores for attention, and they'll do anything for attention, you can't trust their integrity. You can't trust when they back something or go against something that is not for the right reasons and that is just to get to be seen and heard. And that's a sickness. That's a real sickness, that constant need to be your back rub, you know, you did a good job. We can't do that. Then you got the clique member. The clique member, cliques exist everywhere. So let me just say that. A clique doesn't always have to be bad. But this type of clique member, they only respect, they only listen to, they only take serious people in their clique. The problem with that is, what if the leaders of the organization ain't in that clique? What if the people in their clique is deaf, dumb, blind, backwards, and reactionary? Now we got a problem. So we got to teach them to be able to respect people for what they know and what they do, not just because they're in your clique, you know? And then the last one is the sophomore, the wise fool. The sophomore, you know, that's why when you're second year in high school, second year in college, you're a sophomore. Because the presumption is, okay, you got 1 year under your belt, you got 3 more years to go, but you think you got the whole shit figured out. You think you know more than the damn, you been to school, a professor? Nah, man, you still got a long way to go. Give you that for what you learned, but you still got a long way to go. The problem with them is they're incompetent and they're ill-prepared, but they're arrogant, right? They think they know it all. They're dangerous because they will put your organization and community in very dangerous situations because they misjudge it. They don't understand the dynamics going on. And you can't tell them, yo, you can't do that, fam, because they have a arrogance. So those are just like 5 types of people that I think we need to be able to identify and come up with strategies to deal with them, or they can ruin They can ruin what you're trying to do. I've seen that happen. That's a fact. And then I have the last thing, because the other ones I kind of covered, but the last thing, you know how they say there's sins of commission and sins of omission. So these are like 9 sins of omission that we have to check and we have to make sure we don't participate in. Things not that we do, but things we fail to do. Right? So number 1, neglecting to prioritize. Gotta prioritize. Everything can't be equal. Everybody in your life can't be in the same position. Every issue you got can't be of the same importance. You'll get nothing done, or you'll do the stuff that's not very important first, and the stuff that's really important gets left undone. You can't be a powerful individual organization without having a sense of priority. Who comes first? What comes first? What is not as important? Number 2, a sin of omission. We neglect to be conscientious. So being on time, getting up early, busting our ass, making sure we write exact, making sure we precise, doing our best. We neglect to do that. When we neglect to do that, that's one of the worst things. We got to take ourselves and our work seriously, you know? Number 3, we neglect to establish and enforce protocol. I'm big on protocol. I wasn't in the military, but I played on several football teams. And I was raised by certain people who took protocol seriously. Protocol are those sometimes unwritten things that say, this is who handles that. This is how this is done. When this happens, this is how we respond. Right? Now, if you're in the organization and you're around people that don't know about protocol, they'll think you're crazy. Why are they so insistent on that? Why? Because they don't understand protocol. But guess what? As a teacher, I know that we have this thing called fire drills. And we have this thing called fire drills because some very intelligent person said, damn, there was a fire. And because we didn't practice who would go out what staircase, where they would go once they got out the building, how long they would wait to come back, who would get related information, dudes got burned up. People died that didn't have to die. So they created a protocol. So once every so months, fire drill. Sometimes it's announced, they tell you a day or two before. And guess what? Sometimes they don't tell you because they want to see how you're going to react. Because when a fire happens, and the fire ain't going to say, I'm coming, you better get out the building. So protocol is set up to make your life easier. You know, people know their roles, they know their responsibilities. Shit is predictable. You know what I'm saying? And it could be in your home, your relationship, your community, your organization. Protocol. And if you study all great organizations, corporations, institutions, they all have protocol. Every single one of them. Sin of omission, neglecting to establish boundaries. We all want to be nice and loving and empathetic, and we should be. But being loving doesn't mean you let AIDS, crack, and COVID into your community. You say, no, we closing this shit. We don't want that shit here. Boundaries, baby. We protecting our people from that. That doesn't make you hateful, and it says that you care. Boundaries. People who are toxic. Boundaries. Situations that prove to be dangerous and calamitous for our people. Boundaries. Situations that take all our money time and time again. Boundaries. See what I'm saying? You got empowered people and organizations set boundaries, and they have no problem saying, oh no, we don't do that here. Straight like that. They don't care how people take it because they're doing it to protect their people for a reason. Neglecting to show gratitude. Complaining about every little thing. Complaining about everybody. Demoralizing everybody. We have to show our people gratitude. Because you know how we do. When somebody mucks up, we tear them apart, do we not? We call them everything but their name. In their face, behind their back. So we're going to do that when they muck up. When they doing something that's good, we got to, I saw that. I appreciate that. That was a good job. Got to show gratitude. Got to build morale in your organization where people will do what they got to do to come to your meeting and not be late. They're like, no, I know that the game is on, the fight is on, but I ain't missing this meeting. That comes when you have morale and you got to show gratitude. The other thing is neglecting to hold people accountable. Now, as teachers and parents, I think can relate a lot to that. You got this child or this person you love and care about, and you don't want to beat them up and make them feel bad and demoralize them. So we can tend to coddle and pander when what we should be saying is, yo, if you do that again, we're going to have trouble. And as a matter of fact, we got trouble right now. So give me this, give me that. This is taken away until you demonstrate that you're worthy and ready to do this. When we don't do that, what happens?
Chaos.
It's predictable. It's universal law. If you don't hold people accountable, you let people get away with infraction after infraction, they're going to start thinking what they're doing is cool, and you're not going to do nothing about it. Right? So imagine we got a nation and there's no speed limit. Huh? Like, there's no law at all? Like, imagine how it would be. Because with the laws we got, look at how people are crazy they are. So imagine if there was no law. You got to hold people accountable. The question is how you do it. You can do it in a way that doesn't crush somebody's spirit and demoralize them. But you got to hold people accountable. And as a matter of fact, as a teacher and parent, this is my belief, is that if someone doesn't hold you accountable, they don't love you. And I'm not talking about love abstractly. Love is a verb. If you love someone, you're going to hold them accountable. Why? Because you want the best for them. You want to set them up to succeed. Right? So those teachers and coaches y'all had that got on your nerves, that's what you want. They loved you. They wanted the best for you. That's why they did that. Then the other thing is neglecting to build community capacity. This belief that I'm going to do everything myself. I don't need y'all. This is Agyei show. No. Every opportunity we should be teaching somebody what we know. We should be sharing how we do things with someone else. We should be raising other leadership, because in our community, somebody might become a Tom, might be a sellout, might go to jail, might get popped, or might move to another country. So we got to always be thinking about how do we make sure that we have a constant supply of leadership and people who know what needs to be done. And then the last thing is probably, to me, one of the most important, neglecting to have nuanced thinking. Nuanced thinking. Not assuming things to be true, going to find out to make sure that this is what this is. Not going on speculation and old wise theories and anecdotes. Having knowledge and being precise and being able to say this happened because of this and that is what it is. But also being able to hear different perspectives and be able to say, okay, well, I don't agree, but I could see it. What we did all night tonight. That's what we was doing all night. There was times when so-and-so said something, you was like, but I could see that. And there's times I was like, but I could see that. That's all nuanced, not being so set in your ways that your mind is like a brick, you know? So to me, those things are things we have to stop neglecting. We have to take those things more seriously, and we would see greater output from our organizations and our communities, and even in our households and relationships on every level, you know? And I think that's really it, if I'm correct. I think that's pretty much everything. Yep.
I like that, my brother. I like everything you said.
Right.
I'm going to get your number and build with you, man.
Huh?
I'm gonna get your number and build with you, man.
Of course, yeah. I'm gonna put it in the chat. The number and my email.
Information.
Yeah.
Where anybody can.
I'm gonna do that right now. No doubt.
We're gonna have to implement some of that down here in Atlanta. I like those principles.
Oh, that's right, y'all in ATL. So y'all know the Barudis.
Oh yeah, you're my people, man.
We had them on the show.
Yeah, we had them on the show.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's how I made my way to Mama Marimba. You talking about a serious one? You sitting in the classroom with? Woo!
Oh, Dad, I don't put my name up. That sister there got taught personally by Dr. Clark, personally. So, Kaba Kameni. So those people are in a whole nother class, because to be taught by a master teacher is going to make you a master student. And if you continue the path, you're going to be a master teacher too. So she's blessed. Those type of people are blessed. Let me put this. Yeah, that Yoruga was serious.
Yeah. If you got any info, just say it to the audience. Just say it out loud.
For me, I would say
Facebook, Instagram.
That y'all just look up. If y'all see my name on the screen, if you just type my name in Google, you're gonna come to my website, my books, all that. I had an organization called Harlem Liberation School. We got to kind of retool it because of this epidemic and all that. But we teach political education, not for the babies, but for adults, because we realize that there's adults in our community who don't know anything about Africa, nationalism, Pan-Africanism. And so we teach political education classes for them about.
Hey, man, I'm going to show you how this is a full circle. I'm going to show you something. You and I we didn't even really get to meet each other. You and I was a part of something. At one time, I was building with Brother Shaka Shakur, and he was trying to put together something. And it was Carl Tone, a couple of us. And we never really got to jail, man. And we're going to have a conversation. But yeah, I know exactly. I remember you. I know you, man. I remember you.
We was doing the National Black Liberation Front.
Yeah.
We had put it together, and Ego and.
So that's why I said, man, we got to have a conversation.
But it was a beautiful idea, man. It was a beautiful concept.
And it could have worked, man.
Yeah, man. You know how that goes.
Seriously. But
that was disappointing. Yeah.
Yes, man. It didn't even get to take off good, and this is why we here. But full circle, man. Full circle, brother.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm glad. And when Ken Waldo told me, I said, I remember that, brother, man. We was trying to build something, but I never got a chance to build with it.
So who? Let me see. Who was in Atlanta? Yanga.
Yep.
The brother named Yanga, right?
Yeah. Yanga. Yeah. I think Shaka's still here. I haven't spoken to Shaka in a while.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but I think he was rocking with a brother named Yanga in Kuma.
Yeah.
Right.
It was us three. It was us three in Atlanta. And then we had
the people in it are some beautiful brothers, man. Carl Tone's doing it, holding it down in Philly. Brother Los and Patrick and them in Mississippi. Yep. Brother Amun in Houston. He's the head of Anubis and Black Militia. Serious business. They putting it down in Houston. Serious business. So it's some good brothers, man. Just unfortunately, just didn't gel.
You hit it on the head in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna call you, man. I'm gonna build with you, man.
Definitely, man.
What you talked about.
I put my math in the chat. So, anytime, man.
I had tested to the brothers too, Agyei.
Oh, thank you.
Information.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So where can people see this when you put it out?
Yeah, it's gonna be on Rebel Vision Television. I might drop it tomorrow. This is so hot, I might skip the line.
You probably got that drop it, boom, drop it like it's hot.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
We going
I'm telling you, y'all brothers, man, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. Like, we're like metaphors. It's like we're all kind of in the same kind of into the same general thing. This Black liberation, this nation building, this, you know, freedom, and we all express it in unique ways to us, but they still intersect. You know, and I'm looking at y'all, I'm like observing your different qualities. I'm like, wow, man. So it's like two of you were very vocal. Obasi and Brother John was very vocal. Brother Kamado was kind of in and out, just checking, and then the quiet assassin up top. brother Rebel, that's the brother, you know, he ain't talking. You better watch it when he come in the room. You better watch out.
When our other brothers couldn't make it, he just getting over COVID. Now he's born 7. He'll shout too, man.
Yeah, I want to know, you know, how is the COVID affecting y'all in ATL? Because in New York it's getting worse, man.
It's bad down here, man. Everybody got sick at one time.
That's just like right here. Yo, our daughter got it, and we just got tested. We don't know if we got it yet, but everybody seems to be getting it. Whole families, whole households.
Yeah, households, yeah.
And the school system, we got this new black mayor who I'm not impressed by. He's a former cop. And but anyway, he's like, you know, we're gonna keep the schools open. I'm like, yo, this is a virus, man. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Eric Adams.
Yes. Eric Adams.
He been a coon though.
See, once you was a cop and you know, I don't know. I just got feelings about that, about the cops and them being public leadership and the way they think. You know, if you was a cop for 6 months, a year, and you quit, then I'd be like, okay, you may have hope for you. But if you was a cop for 30 years, I'm like, nah, you're a cop. You are a cop. You think like a cop. There's no way around that. They indoctrinate you a certain way. There's no way. So I don't trust those type of people. That's all. That's just me. You know, they don't listen. They think they got it all figured out. You know, people like whole schools are getting this virus. Whole classrooms are closing. New York is the biggest public school system in the whole country. And other cities are like, we're going remote. We going remote. We going remote. And this dude is like, we're going to stay open no matter what. Like, word, fam? That's how you look at it? That's crazy to me.
Technically, it's like it don't exist in the A. I mean, you gotta
say again.
It's kind of like it don't exist. I really don't see the COVID restrictions out in Georgia.
Yeah, the restrictions not here. Really, they never like last year, man. We only shut down for 2 or 3 weeks. Look, I had a child. What? Yeah, I had a childhood partner come down from Chicago, right? Because he have his daughter stay down here, whatever. Hey man, he was surprised that the city was open, man. I took him to sports bars and everything, shot pool with him. He was like, man.
What? Like, okay, so are people wearing masks in ATL right now?
You wear, but they're not really enforcing it.
If you want.
Yeah, if you want to.
Wear it in the store. Like you can't go to the supermarket.
Okay.
But if we was just like anywhere else, we got the black section. There ain't no mask in the black section.
Mm.
Do
y'all know anybody personally in your family or your brotherhood circle that died from it?
Nope.
No, I don't.
Wow. Okay.
No,
not direct.
Okay. Wow. I'm surprised. Okay. Because I think we all knows at least a few people that died. Yeah.
Well, I actually do. One of my cousins, he was fully vaccinated. His family member was fully vaccinated and died from COVID.
Wow. It's crazy. And, people talking about COVID, I'm like, the white man is probably the deadliest virus in human history. If you think about it, like really think about it. He brought smallpox to the Indians. He brought AIDS and crack to us and heroin. And what he does all over the world is like in the Matrix, the agent was saying you humans are viruses, but not all humans. Is a certain category of humans, I think, that are like a virus. They got to destroy everything around them. They can't coexist peacefully with others, you know?
Yeah.
There's something kind of sick about that. But that's another show.
Yeah. When you come back, we talk on that.
Right.
That's right.
No question.
Oh, man. This is beautiful, man. I appreciate the opportunity, y'all. For real.
Nah, man, brother Agyei, man, salute, man. Keep doing your work. I wish I was young enough to be in your class. You feel me? But I like the whole fact where you basically saying infiltrate from all angles.
Every weapon at your disposal, use it, master it, wield it, and teach others, and have faith, man. It's going to be a protracted struggle, man. But we're going to be free at some point. That's a fact.
Right.
Rushing the castle, so some of us gonna climb the wall, some of us going through the window, some of us gonna dig a hole.
That's right.
Go right through the front door.
That's what I'm talking about.
I feel you. But
that's right.
Peace,
Peace, y'all, man. Nothing but love for y'all. Call me anytime, man. Let's build. Let's do some more shows, all that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
We put it up on YouTube. I'm gonna tag you in the link, man. So
yeah, man. I want to share that with some people. Introduce them to the ATL family in the building. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And y'all representing God. My brother John, you representing God. He'd be proud of you, brother.
Man, we in the UNIA, he the president, and I sit on the central committee down here. Atlanta.
Okay. Yeah. All right, that's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I gotta make sure when this book comes out, make sure y'all get a copy.
All right.
Because I think you'll find it useful. You know, you're not going to agree with everything, but you'll find it useful.
Them things you was pointing out at the end, I'm trying to write them down. Like I definitely got to talk to a couple people about accountability and other things. But you said a lot of powerful information.
And as did you all too, man. I want you to know I don't just talk, I listen too. I definitely was listening to what y'all was saying, you know. So so if we done, I'm gonna sign off. Chill with my lady.
That's right.
Peace to the queen one more time. Brother Agyei.
Yes, sir. Peace, my brothers.
Peace out.
Let me know when you're posted, all right? And stay in touch with a brother, okay?
Got you, brother. No doubt. We got you. Straight up.
All right. Peace, y'all.
Peace, brother.
Yo, us. Rebel with a cause. BK all day, baby. It's rebel season. The real rebels are back. I got the mind of a king. Should really protect them. Everybody talking, but rebel really the next. I got the mind of a king. Spread to never take this. Slavery, fake hip hop, you dead if you were racist. I got the mind of a king. You could never replace this. Blood from the mud, no love, so I'ma say I got the mind of a king.